Hey, you. How about that Intrepid? A lot of hate on the Intrepid, especially from those that all they see is DPS when it comes to a ship. CIG has folded and upgraded the weapon from size 3 to size 4, but it's still a starter ship and not necessarily made for taking down high-risk targets. On the other hand, it ain't exactly no slouch either. So for all the naysaying out there, how does it actually stand up to its competitors, and which ships are its competitors? Also, is this new, really different ship worth adopting? Pull up a seat and take a look-see with me. Grab your Snuggie fresh out the dryer, kill the lights, and kick back like a boss. So at the time of riding, we don't know how much the Intrepid costs. My best guess is about 70 to 80 USD, but could be even less if the demand ain't there. Let's start with what we do know. It's a starter ship and it carries 8 SCU. There's 2 other ships that fit that build, which are the Aegis Avenger Titan and the Origin 300i. Those 2 have a price tag of 60 USD. The 300i rarely, if ever, gets thrown in the starter package anymore, and it is an upgrade over the 100i Origin starter, but its price tag, cargo, and functionality makes it fit in as a higher tier starter, so let's crack on. So with the limited info we have, and also those being the ships that folks online have been comparing it to, let's go ahead and walk these dogs and see what we got. Intrepid is a very unique design within Star Citizen, but it does share some inspiration with ships in other games. It's got the off-center cockpit design like the Homeworld series Kushan/Hagaran Scout, but the Intrepid has added wings for atmospheric flight love, and a weapon for the occasions where you'd actually want to bear down on the target. Hard to tell in the Homeworld furball, so I'm not sure the Scout has any weapons to actually fire. It just does a little recon then heads back home. The Intrepid interior puts you in the mind of what the Elite Dangerous Imperial Courier could be hiding behind the seat. Both pilot seats are nestled in a narrow cockpit with accent lights breaking up the darkness, and at the rear of the seats you'll be presented with a door slightly behind. Past the door in the Courier is nothing, and you wonder what could have been. But the Intrepid answers with one of the coolest interiors in all of starter shipdom. You're greeted with the light banded arc that, besides adding a little Fred Astaire flare, gives just enough illumination to see the nearest relay in case you need to do a quick swap out of the fuses. When the door opens, you got your Crusader branding in the passageway, followed by a few components small enough to pull out in that limited space. Turn the corner and you've got the best dedicated bedroom a starter ship can deliver. The cozy bed features padded walls, various light settings, and a multifunctional display in case you need to crank the shield power in a hurry. The rest of the quarters comes complete with a suit locker, 1.5 SCU of personal storage space, 6-piece gun rack plus large weapon rack, triple shelf unit, kitchenette with a cappuccino maker, food matron, and dual mini cooler, as well as a dining space with cup holders to keep you dry during shake and bake maneuvers, and ensuite with no toilet paper or 3 seashells. Turning the quarter out of the hab to the rear of the ship brings you to the threshold of where the space magic happens. The bulk of your ship components are housed inside with enough room for repair or replacement. Across the way is an engineering station to track down any issues or required maintenance throughout the ship. I could be mistaken, but I think this might be the first starter ship to have this. Actually, I think I'm kind of sure. Both port and starboard sides of the room house 4 SCU of cargo each, which you're able to access from within the room, as well as raise and lower the grids for external access. It's just a great layout, utilizing the asymmetry of the exterior to create an interior that's simple to navigate and stuffed with comforts and convenience that typically don't get the starter ship stamp. Titan and 300i interiors are pretty basic in comparison. At least in the 300, you're wrapped in 360 degrees of beautimous materials and style. The toilet makes you want to stuff yourself with torpedo burritos ASAP. The Titan doesn't even give you a bucket. They used to leave you snacks on the Titan bed. Now they're like, if you eat anything, then have to go, where would you go? For the most part, with starter ships, it usually comes down to which ship tickles your sci-fi fantasy the most. The Reliant is a space transformer. The Nomad is a futuristic pickup truck. The Cutter is Lone Star's RV without the comfort of a shag carpet. Pretty much whatever looks the part in your mind. But after you've flown other ships and considered it a little more, what makes a ship a solid choice for an everyday driver is the flexibility to do just about anything at a moment's notice and have a reasonable chance to survive it. Utility plus either durability, firepower, or elusiveness. These are all starter ships, so they're just not going to be built like a Star Destroyer, absorbing fire from every direction and wiping out frigates left and right. The ability to kick rocks and get out of dodge as fast as possible is an understated asset to have in the game, especially with starter ships. Live to fight another day should be up there with make sure your helmet is on before you walk into space. Unless you're a top combat pilot looking to take on a challenge at a disadvantage, it's better to shove everything in your ship and get out quicker than influencers pushing crypto. The 300i is probably at the biggest disadvantage here. It's quick and got a little firepower, but if you're on the ground trying to load up your legitimate salvage like Vash with the Taksu Tot and ride out before enemies close in, you gotta run toward the front of the ship, open the hole, then run to the back of the ship, load up what you got, then run back to the front of the ship, wait for the ladder to come down, and then start making your way to the cockpit. If you're in a hurry because you hear somebody coming, by the time you get in the seat, they probably already hovering above you recording a "Am I a joke to you" meme. The Intrepid does it better. You can open up and load boxes from the same area, and if you're really in a hurry, you can just open a door and throw an entire SCU box in the door. Plus, there's no ladder with an animation to slow you down. Now, the Titan is probably best suited for a quick getaway. Being able to just open the back ramp, pull in boxes, and run straight to the cockpit is the fastest way to turn and burn when the heat's around the corner. Then again, the Intrepid emissions are also way lower than the other ships, making it much harder to spot and keep track of. All three are quick as you'd expect when it comes to starter ships. They're not the fastest nor the slowest, they fall in the middle of the fray. Intrepid is a few meters shorter than the 300, but wider than both the 300i and the Titan, and when the stats are revealed, I believe we will find that it has much more mass. And since this Dragon Mo wagon is quick, but not as quick as these two, 35 meters per second slower in SEM and maxing out at 1225 is 200 meters per second slower in nav mode. Intrepid shields is its Achilles heel in combat. The Titan and 300i both have two size 1 shields, while the Intrepid has a single size 1. In an engagement with more than one attacker, Intrepid has to rely on hit and run tactics that can separate the enemies, because it won't be able to take sustained fire from a flanking opponent. The available resources from the stock power plant can fill engines and weapon slots to the brim while still maintaining enough power for the weapons, making what's been called a disadvantage into an advantage. What folks are overlooking is that with the Intrepid having a single energy gun, it can regenerate its shots much quicker and with less resources than ships with 2 or more weapons. It takes 8 seconds to completely discharge its weapons and then refills it in 5. And if you burst fire it, it can recover the shots indefinitely. This means that you can maintain sustained fire for as long as you want and eventually take down shields much larger than you would think, and even destroy large ships if you can avoid their fire lanes. It's not likely to be an everyday occurrence, but it makes someone with this starter ship a valuable, viable squad mate that can continually harass a larger target without having to lay off and recharge weapons. Now that we're stepping into a new system where the distances can leave you stuck in the middle of nowhere and fuel is damn near a currency, it behooves you to keep your eye on the fuel gauge and know how far you can actually get in your starter ship. The Intrepid ain't scared to swim out into the vacuum now. It carries about 2.5 times more hydrogen fuel than the competition and can quantum travel more than twice as far. You want to make it back to base and pyro without getting stranded, hoping for a refuel ship to swing by and not rob you? You take the Intrepid. Side note, the 300i does scoop hydrogen, which increases its range in SCM mode. Just want to put that out there. We used to have a global ship inventory where as soon as you set foot on a ship, you could just start dragging items in and out of it. Now we've moved on to storage compartments not being just for show anymore. Items that you want to keep aboard your ship and have quick access to can go into your personal storage compartments rather than trying to keep track of which SCU box they're in or throwing them on the floor hoping they don't bounce around. Spare magazines, alternate armor sets, rare items like ancient artifacts you found on your long expedition to the Vandal strip club, whatever that thing is you received in the discreet packaging, throw it in your storage. It's an essential feature going forward. The storage right above the bed in Intrepid holds 1500K micro SCU, which is a convoluted measurement. It's 1500,000, so you throw the 3 zeros on it and you got 1.5 million micro SCU. A micro SCU is a millionth of an SCU. So 1500,000 micro SCU is 1.5 SCU. Hope you got that. 1.5 storage containers worth of storage space right above your sleeping little head. Hopefully it's sturdy. That's enough to collect all the Pokemon and put several armor sets in and still have room for your Adam Sandler movie collection. Wait, what? The 3-Bird at 650K micro SCU has less than half of what the Intrepid carries, which on one hand kind of sucks because you can't access your cargo from inside the ship, but on the other hand, carrying 1.5 SCU worth of stuff up and down the ladder or tractor beaming it in could get old quick. The Avenger Titan doesn't have any personal storage. Maybe it will get added in at some point, but not today. We don't need to deep dive into this, but the Crusader ship has a suit locker and the other two don't. That'll be important down the line.
Obviously, the inventory screen is cool. You go through and you drag and drop and whatever. But this idea that you just said,
it's almost like your models in the background there.
Yeah.
Like if you want to show off your favorite armors, there they are behind the shiny glass.
And then to immediately just go right to it and be like, equip. I want that.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's going to unlock a lot of cool gameplay.
Yeah, that's something that Rich is really passionate about as well, because we have so many different types, and these like specializations, they kind of enhance the other styles of gameplay. So if you're in a dropship, for example, you don't want to be dropping into a hot war zone and then you're like, oh, okay, 1 minute, let me drag this and let me drag that. You want to be like, no, I want my combat. Yeah, I want to go straight to it. I want to get out there. I want to fight. So they kind of, all these little things that we're doing kind of start to complement one another, and it starts to feel more cohesive and what we intend.
Yeah, when your ship's being attacked, you know what I mean, the lights are going off, you're really worried. You're not like, oh, hang on, let me open a menu. It's like, people are coming, yeah. You want the Doom shotgun gif, right? Like, these guys are coming, well, boosh, and then, yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Between the fuel capacity and storage facilities, the Intrepid is by far the best ship for traveling, collecting things along the way. We don't know what its scanning suite is yet, but it's shaping up to be a long-range ship for the solo explorer. The big new hotness right now is the RSI Polaris Capital niceness. It's big, it's bold, it takes a decent amount of crew to be effective in dangerous situations. What else it is a big empty paradise for the hermit who wants to live outside of the cities and space stations in a state of self-sustainability. Since it has that impressive rooftop hangar, it's a great place for a lone wolf to store one of these ships. You use one of these starter ships for your excursions, then flying back to the Polaris home base. May not be what the vehicle team had in mind, but in the verse, you make your own rules about what you use things for. The little Crusader fits nicely in the Polaris hangar. It's a nice, comfortable, Deep Space Nine runabout style ship when paired with the capital ship. You can park the Polaris well away from where you're going, take the Intrepid out, load it up with cargo or whatever you find, get out quick and bring it back to the Polaris without risking people boarding your bigger ship. Since it doesn't have space for a ground vehicle in the cargo area, its utility on an away mission takes a little bit of a hit, but you can take matters into your own hands and just tractor beam a small graph bike into the P-way to take with you. Now you got yourself a ground vehicle and your 8 SCU of cargo space stays intact. Unlike the Avenger Titan, the Titan gets real glitchy when you park a bike in the back if there's any boxes back there. You can manually tractor a bike in and out of it, but it'll take close to half the cargo space away from you. The 300i can't carry a hover bike, period. You'll have some nice buttery wood grain and lighting on deck, but you'll be 100% on foot with the 3-bird. So in a situation when you leave the mothership and land somewhere, scout ahead on a hover bike, then take out any enemies before returning with your ship to load it up with cargo, the Intrepid is going to be the better option. If you don't mind having just one or the other ground transportation of boxes, then either the Intrepid or the Titan will do. With the 300, you're limited to just boxes. While recording this video, I left the Polaris at a derelict station, hopped in the Intrepid, and went out for some bunker runs to beef up the amount of supplies, guns, and armor I could throw in the armory and mess hall. You know how those go. Bunker missions is the easiest. Forgot enemies also spawn outside the bunkers now. I don't know how these guys with the civvy clothing be hanging outside, but the single size 4 gun make quick work of them. Stripped all the armor, loaded up the ship to kick rocks back to the Polaris. Right after I jump back to the space station, I see another Polaris jump in nearby. There's some lag here, but it was dope because you don't really often see other ships jump into space near you. A second later, after I shake off the "that was dope" factor, I realized they're going to the same place I'm going. Is it a single person? They're gonna destroy or commandeer the mothership? You never know. So I put them engines to work, make my way to the ship. Then the question that never comes up. How fast can I land this thing without blowing up? Turns out pretty quick. The little Crusader is a great fit for a ship that has a big hab and its own engineering room, and I didn't have to thread the needle landing it. After making it out of the Intrepid, the urgency had worn off a bit, and the sight of the moon and this other behemoth ship slowly drifting by was too impressive not to be fixated by. These are good times. You can land a ship in a capital ship, look up and see a massive ship floating by, punctuated by a moon hitting your eye like a big pizza pie. That's amore. Luckily, when I shook off the reverie and made it through half a dozen doors, they got a lot of doors in that ship, it was apparent that the other Polaris had better things to do than a weapons firing test on this Polaris. Maybe your takeaway should be, don't leave your mothership behind that Covalex hub gundo. We really need a better way to track our ships besides putting a delivery box in it or a corpse. Made an attempt to park it 15 kilometers away from Gundo, but maybe orbital drift got the better of that attempt. Anywho, really though, the Intrepid can find ways to win in combat, but like I said, that's not what it's about. You might say it's a one-man band miniature C1 Spirit, but with a nicer interior. It's like Crusader said, let's build a Pontiac Aztec of a body, cram it as best we can with the comfort of a Zeus ES, the convenient cargo system of the Star Max, and make the entrance big enough for an adventurous pilot to load in whatever off-the-menu item suits their adventure, whether that's a bike, a box, or whatever the hell's waiting for them out in the verse. And make it a long-range beast of a starter. And that's what this ship is for. It's for you to dream up a solo adventure without being pigeonholed into a specific role like fighter or small hauler. The Intrepid's for the dreamer pilot, unconcerned with grinding all night for credits. It's the TARDIS looking for its Doctor Who. FYI, the 300i and Avenger Titan are my 2 other favorite starters, so check them out with the After Dark treatment here. Big Ragu shout out to the executive producers of this joint. Eyes Open 2018, The Huntress and Lone Wolf. Thanks for keeping the wheels turning, bosses. Big shout out to all the good folks supporting the channel via Patreon, my YouTube members, and my super chatters. My name is Dig That, and I still haven't even tried a Scotch egg yet. Fly dirty, citizens.